Emax has another brand new release today, and you're going to get a first look at the Freestyle 3 Plus. I'm Justin Davis, and this is Drocamp's RC. Guys, welcome back to the channel. Another new release today. If you didn't see our other video today, we reviewed also the Tinyhawk 3. It's an HD Plus edition. It has prop guards on there. It kind of looks like an Apple product type of little quad with little tiny fins on the top. It also has HD 0, which this one also has. But in this review, we're talking about the Freestyle 3. This is the 3rd generation Plus edition with HD 0 on board, and everything in this box is ready to fly. So you just take everything out of the box. It has a charger in there. You can charge up your 1S 650 batteries. I had 2 batteries in my box. These are Emax branded batteries, and they have the pH 2.0 connectors on there. But what's kind of cool about this, if you're a beginner, I would almost suggest, if you don't mind flying outdoors, I'd suggest starting out with a Freestyle versus the Tinyhawk 3 Plus HD edition. Why? Because this one will give you a little more room to grow. I am an expert longtime pilot, but I really have a lot of fun flying this, and I think as a beginner, you will be doing Freestyle much quicker if you start out with something with a little more power and a little more room to grow. It's just kind of like that when you go into, say, the surf shop to buy a certain type of surfboard, or you're buying a snowboard. A more aggressive snowboard can do more aggressive maneuvers and things, and that's what this one's all about. This one will do more aggressive maneuvers, flips, rolls, and get you closer to FPV freestyle feeling of what it will feel like to fly a 3 to 5 inch quad later. So this one's a great acro trainer for FPV freestyle. You can fly this one on a 1S battery. You put a little dongle on the side of this little attachment right here in the back. It has 2 plugs. These are both pH 2.0 connectors. When you put that little dongle in there, it lets you fly on 1S battery, just one at a time. It'll have a mild flight characteristic with not a lot of power, perfect for beginners. Then if you take that dongle out of the plug, you put 2 batteries in, and you have them on the very top of the quad here, then you have the ultimate power. It is super fun on 2S. So this is really woken up on 2S, and it will handle pretty much a 75-foot tree dive, which I'm going to show you coming up here in this flight test. We're going to fly it on 1S and 2S today and have some fun at the park. I think you're going to be surprised. So they also dropped D8 on the transmitters, and that just means that you're going to have a more solid connection to this when you dive down in between those trees, which we're going to do today. We will not lose signal with ELRS. It's much better than D8. So I got to say, thumbs up to Emax for making that change. It has a built-in ELRS receiver now, and you can fly Crossfire on here too. You can solder up a Crossfire receiver if you want to use that type of system. So let's go ahead and charge up the batteries with the included battery charger, and we'll go outside and do some ripping with a new Freestyle 3 Plus. Here we go. All right guys, let's go ahead and fly it on 1S first, and then after that we'll fly it on 2S and have quite a bit more power. Plugging in the battery, then I'll press record on the goggles. Just want to make sure these batteries leads in the back are well away from your propellers, because they're pretty close up. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and goggle up here, make sure I'm recording. Long press on OK, and that should make us record. So now we're recording down to our micro SD card. And let's try out beginner mode first. We'll see how the rates are, and then we'll go from there. Okay, we'll just get it to arm. All right, we're good. Here we go. This is the maiden flight of the Freestyle. And you know what? It's pretty chill on like a 1S battery. This feels nice. You know, if you wanted to have something a little more with like a little more room to grow outside, like the new Tinyhawk 3 Plus HD edition, this one would have definitely more room to grow. This one's going to go faster. It's still pretty durable because it has that thick carbon frame. I've talked about these props before. They're super tough. They're kind of like skateboard wheels. And they haven't changed this prop design in quite a few years. So that really says something about the prop design. And I'm flying one of the stock Emax batteries. Just along the path here, just cruising. Okay, so now let's go ahead and let's try out some of the other modes with 1S. Let's go ahead and flip into intermediate mode. And now I'm able to fly a little faster. I can still do flips and rolls, it looks like. Yeah, so this is basically like horizon mode. Horizon will let you do flips and rolls, but it kind of brings you back to level. You can kind of see that there. When I let go of the sticks, it brings you back to level, but I can still do a roll, and then it levels me out. So with acro mode, it's not going to level you back out, but we'll try that right now while we got a little bit of battery left here. So let's go ahead and go up. It's always good to go a little bit higher and then flip into acro mode, especially if you're a beginner. A lot of times when you guys first fly acro mode, you crash immediately. A lot of people, when they first flip into it, they just crash immediately. So let's go up and do a flip in acro mode, and I'll show you like see how it didn't level back out. If I let go of the stick here, it just continues in the direction that I'm traveling, see, and the angle. So that's kind of how acro mode works. Still gives us a nice smooth flying, full throttle up, did a little, oh man, we just barely made that little S. That was close. It's a little split S there. When you go up and over and back under something, that's a split S. So yeah, it's fun. I wouldn't say that it has a ton of freestyle power, but this is good for kind of like light rolls and flips and just some kind of straight ahead acro flying. I wouldn't really say this is a freestyle beast on 1S, but this is great for training. And in my opinion, I think this would be, you know, great fun outside of getting a Tinyhawk. Tinyhawk's good for indoors, but if you want to be outside, definitely the Freestyle's more fun in my opinion. It just has a little more power to it. So let's go ahead and land it now, and let's go ahead and fly on 2S. Let me show you what 2S feels and looks like and rips like. See if I can make it back on the landing pad. There we go. Nice landing, Justin. Okay, so now we're all ready for 2S. I'm gonna go ahead and take off, and I see that 3 deer has just walked over here and kind of grazing in the grass. So we're gonna fly out this way while they continue to move that way. So you may see them in the video. They're just right in front of us right here. I'm gonna go ahead and goggle up, and they may take off running when we just take off here. So I'm gonna go ahead and quietly arm the quad and come up. So let's go ahead and try out some 2S Freestyle. Let's just do a little tree dive real quick. So I feel like the rates are pretty soft. See how big and smooth that was? Nice. Now I feel like I could kill a battery pretty quick. And it's cool that you can fly this one on 1 and 2S. Nice. Little double roll there. Don't want to get too near those deer. I want to respect their grazing. Oh, there they are. They're still hanging out, and they're not bothered by this. These deer are really tame in this neighborhood. They know nobody around here is going to hurt them. We don't have a lot of hunters around here. If you hunt, you're probably salivating right now. So I was cruising along the path here, and look how much faster this is compared to the 1S setup. And I still have the same camera angle in these 2 batteries on here. So let's go up and over. Awesome. Now let's go find that that big tree dive that we normally do over here to the top of this, about this 70-foot tree. We're just gonna dive right in there. Try to make this dive. Wow, nice power. Really nice power on the bottom end of that dive. So this drone, you know, it can do pretty much any type of freestyle you want to do, and have enough power to pull out. That's really cool. So it's super nice with the HD on here as well. Super flowy. I feel like I could make some nice videos with this quad. I'm just going to keep running this battery. I love that. Flies beautifully. And you know, this is about what I was expecting from this quad. It's actually really well controlled. I've never been around that section of that tree, so that was totally new right there. Let's see where our friends are. They're kind of congregating right there. I'm gonna come back over here. I'm at the very bottom end of this battery. This will start flashing in a second here, but I'm gonna go ahead and come in for a landing here. Just gonna put myself in stability mode, see if we can find our landing pad. And yeah, that's the Tinyhawk Freestyle Plus Edition. All right, let's go back to the bench now, and let's take a look at what you get in the box. All right, guys, welcome back from the flight test. This is the box you get with everything included in it to fly FPV. And now that everything's out of the box, you can see what you get in the box. This is all the accessories. It has a firmware update cable. It has some GoPro style attachments for taking this off. It comes right off the front of the goggles and allows you to attach it to the E8 transmitter, which is super cool. So you can use it as a monitor, or you can slap it in here and use it as an FPV goggle set. The Freestyle 3 Plus weighs in at 94.5 grams. Emax also decided to upgrade their battery. This is a 650 milliamp to accommodate the new larger motors on this quad. And there are two different types of chargers. You have this charger here, which also allows you to do HV and LiPos with a switch here. 2S on this side and 1S on this side, a total of 4 batteries at once here. 1S and 2S at the same time. That's pretty cool. This charger is also a USB charger and allows you to charge HV batteries and up to 6 at once on here. And what I thought was cool about this is it also uses a PH 2.0 connector and not some fancy proprietary type of connector. So that means you can use other batteries besides an Emax battery. And we also got 2 sets of Avon props in here, and I've talked about these props before. They're tough, they're thick, they're durable, they're kind of like skateboard wheels. And these are the Emax Transporter 2 goggles. You have the OK button here, you have a power button here. If you long press it, it will turn on. Over here we have a mode button and 2 arrow buttons to go up and down on the channels. It has 8 different bands and around 40 channels. And also a built-in external fan to have airflow going through this unit and vents on the side. Over here it has a built-in USB-C port, and that's for charging the internal 1S battery. Also you have some more venting down here, a tripod mount, and a little tiny switch inside this hole. You can switch that with a bamboo skewer, and that will take it into boot mode. Over here on this side, we have our micro SD port for our micro SD card right here, and our firmware port right here for updates to HD0 on this monitor. And remember I told you about this little dongle right here. If you plug this into one side of the connector here, this will turn it into a 1S quad. And I turn on the monitor there by long pressing the power button. And once I turn this on, you will see the HD0 load up on the screen pretty much instantly. And you can also see that Betaflight is already loaded on here for us. Down at the bottom left, we start out with the flight mode here. It also has the current battery voltage, the time elapsed for flying, and the band and the channel here and how much power we're transmitting on. And I'm transmitting on 200 right now, as well as the little circle up top. It's gray right now. If you long press on the M button, it will start recording and you'll see it turn red. We also have some connectivity bars here as well, and a redundant channel and band up top here in the very middle. And if you leave everything powered on for too long, things will start to overheat, especially the VTX on the quad, so you want to be careful doing that. The DVR will also overheat and crash if you have it on for long periods of time, which I experienced with the Tinyhawk 3 Plus. So this one is pretty much the same monitor, so you want to watch out for that. Also, if you leave it on for an extended period of time, you'll start to hear this transmitter start to beep. It'll let you know that, hey, you left me on. So that's kind of a cool feature that this setup has. Now, why I don't mind the Emax chargers, I think they're great to get you started. But what you really want to move up to is the VFly WhoopStor 3. Everyone talks about this one. People love it. It will do up to 6 batteries at once. It'll also charge BT 2.0 and PH 2.0, which most of these batteries for your Freestyle and your Tinyhawk have. So you can fit all those batteries there. And what's cool about this charger, unlike most other 1S chargers out there, these do not discharge, but this one will discharge to a storage charge for you. So if you want to storage charge your 1S batteries, say leaving them somewhere over the winter time in a closet somewhere, that's the safe way to do that for 1S battery. And again, I'll put the link down below for this one because I know a lot of you guys would like to have this. It also has a barrel connector for AC input and DC input here for an XT60, as well as a USB-C 3.0 there for plugging into a power bank and charging off a power bank. So it has a lot of versatility, and we really like this charger a lot. The transmitter that comes with the Tinyhawk Freestyle 3 Plus is the same as the Tinyhawk HD edition with the prop guards. It has all the same switches. It has 4 switches up top. It has an arm disarm switch. It has a beginner mode, intermediate, and expert mode, which are essentially angle mode. It has horizon mode, and it has acro mode. So if you go inside Betaflight, that's the way it'll be set up there. But for beginners, they just kind of name them something easy to remember. And a beeper up here. It has flip over mode up top, which is also turtle mode. You just want to be careful doing that with a non-prop guarded version of a quad, because if you do that too long in something like tall grass, you could burn out an ESC or burn up a motor. So you should only do turtle mode if you're kind of, you're on a flat surface. Now this turns on by the button in the middle. Long press that, it turns it on. And once you have a connection here, you'll see a green light. You see the red light right there, I'm not connected to anything, and it will start beeping if we leave it on for too long. You also have trims here, but as a quad pilot, you don't need to worry about trims. We don't usually use those. On the back, I love this, the fact that it does have an included Li-ion battery also in here. And this is chargeable by the USB-C port on the very bottom of this transmitter. So 2 to 3 hours should give you a full charge on this transmitter. And then the light will turn green once it's fully charged. Now let's go ahead and talk about this brand new version of the Freestyle 3 Plus. I love it. They did make a bigger frame on here. It has kind of like upgraded style graphics. You can kind of see there's just some kind of finer detail on this one. It has a little lip out in the front to protect the camera, a little tiny lip up top. It doesn't come over top of the camera on the top, but it does stick out in the front for a frontal crash. And we're running the same props on here as pretty much the last 2 other Freestyle editions. We have the 2.5-inch Avant props, and again, these have a super wide cord in the middle and a really narrow end on them, so they are super punchy but also very quiet. They also have an extreme amount of angle and tilt here, which concerned me when I first saw them, but once I flew them, they were quite nice. And we also have the HD0 camera up front. It is adjustable. You can get up to about 35 degrees of tilt here, or you can fly it down low for some kind of slower flying. If you want to fly fast, tilt it up high. We also have a battery strap with a 3M bed here for the battery, which is kind of a nice detail. And it looks like the top plate will release with 3 bolts there. So that's kind of a quick top plate release, which I really do love a lot. In the back, we have that 1S and 2S configuration, which has this little plug here. Pull that out, and it becomes a 2S quad, which is super great. We also have kind of just a dipole type of antenna here with a little plastic shroud around it, which is for our HD0. We have an F4 flight controller, and it also seems to have motors soldered down to the board here. So this one doesn't have plug and play motors, and that's good for you because, well, when you crash, they're not going to pop off, and if one pops off, you're going to have a motor not working. So it's nice to have them dedicated and soldered down to the board. And again, like that's going to be better for you in the long run. You also kind of need to learn how to solder. So if you're brand new to FPV, you want to definitely be soldering. But I also love the fact that there's no longer D8 on this quad. They've switched over to ELRS now full time, and you don't have to mess around with it. It's already bound up. See, when you turn the quad on and you turn on the transmitter, the E8 transmitter, it's just already linked up for you from the factory, and the switches are set up in Betaflight. So I love that. And again, if you want to mod this one, you want to cut this off and put the XT60 on there as a dedicated 2S quad. I have a ton of 2S 450 and 650 batteries, but they suggest that you fly a 650 battery with this one just because of the new motor upgrades on here. Those are the 12025 motors, and 7,000 kV, I believe they were Emax branded motors. Yeah, 7,000 kV, and I felt like the power system on here, even with the additional weight and the 3-inch style frame, we have plenty of power for even the biggest and tallest trees to dive out here. 75-foot tree dive is no joke, especially when you're going back over a tree and back down through the canopy. And I guess like we could talk about the way this feels when I'm flying down through shadowy areas with this system. I was still able to kind of see where I was going in those tree dives in the dark spaces. And when you go light to dark with a lot of these cameras, that's where you can really tell quality. Light shift adjustment is a big deal when you're flying FPV. So this one does handle it quite well because, well, it's a brand new HD0 system on here with the current firmware. So it's really nice for light shift adjustment. As far as tune on here goes, I think the tune is softened up a lot for beginners. I would like a little faster rates, and you can change that inside Betaflight if you feel like it's too soft for you. If you're already an intermediate flyer, you may want to just do a second rate profile, and you can do that. You can keep Emax's original rate profile, go to rate profile number 2, and make that one a more flippy dippy, fast roll and pitch type of setup there for your rates. That'll make it a lot faster and more nimble, which is going to be a lot of fun for intermediate pilots. But if you're brand new, just keep it where it is and fly it right like it is. And one other thing we got to tell you in this review is that I know people are going to be asking, is there an analog version? Yeah, actually there is an analog version coming. Right now the HD version is available. I believe they're on pre-order. But it shows right on the box as well that they're going to have an analog version right here. So there's analog and an HD version. And I just happened to get lucky and get an HD version. So I'm super happy with it. Let's go ahead and give some final thoughts on this Freestyle 3 Plus edition. All right, guys. Thanks for watching the overview and the bench review of this Freestyle 3 Plus. Now, some of the big changes between this one and the previous version that you see back here on the screen is the fact that they use TH1103 motors on the original version, which you can still get, but this one has been upgraded. It has the 12025 motor on here, and these are 7000 kV, which give us a little more power on 2S, and that's where this heavier weight and the frame and the addition of another layer in here for the HD0, that just gives us that extra punch when we're coming down the bottom of those trees, and we're able to make it out at high throttle at the low end of our dives. That's super important. Or if you're doing a split S over a tree and back under, or you're just going to do a power loop. The cool thing is that the power system on here with the 2S batteries, two 650 milliamps, it will handle any type of freestyle maneuver that I threw at it today. And it felt like overall it had a very soft tune for beginners. It didn't feel like it had really aggressive flip and roll rates because I wasn't over rotating. Even the first rotation that I tried to do with it, the first roll, it didn't go all the way back around. So it kind of tells me that it's not on a super high end tune. So it is tuned for beginners. If you're just getting into learning how to fly acro or freestyle, this will be a nice soft way to do that. And then later on you can increase your rates and you can fly like maybe like Mr. Steel. So I feel like they did a good job on all the upgrades. I feel like this quad is ready for the market, and I didn't have any problems with it today, which is really good news. It seemed to work perfectly out of the box. I didn't have to play around with anything or touch my PC or go into Betaflight or mess around with any type of switch setup. It's already all set up for Betaflight. So later on when you want to get into Betaflight, you know, just plug in your data cable there and you're off and running to make some changes. I also like the fact that, you know, you can take this connector off. Some of the FPV community is taking these off to make it a dedicated 2S drone with an XT30 connector. Some people like to keep this on here as well to be able to fly it back on 1S if you choose to fly indoors. I would recommend an indoor flight on 1S. If you're flying 2S indoors, you have a pretty big place, but our place handles 1S flying just fine, and that's nice to have that versatility. So some people are choosing to keep this two-way connector, which is kind of cool that Emax does that. I don't know that there's any other company out there that's making this duality type of connector. So 1S and 2S is pretty cool to have on this quad. So it gives it a lot of versatility for indoors or outdoors. But I like the tune. I like these props on here. I love that they put it on a 3-inch frame this time, and it just looks beastier out of the box. And we'll do some comparison between this one and some of the other 2.5-inch rippers out there, because I know you guys got questions. And if you have questions, or comments, please put them down in the comments down below. Please like this video as well. Share it with your friends. If you have someone who's getting into FPV, or you know a young person that needs an FPV drone, grab this bundle from my link down below, and this kid will have the best Christmas ever. So I appreciate you guys watching. Check out our link on social media for FPVWEST. If you want to join us for a local meetup, even if you don't have a drone, come out to our FPVWEST event, meet me, hang out with other pilots, and start networking in the drone community and make some friends. It's a lot of fun to fly, so come out and join us there at FPVWEST. Coming up around Halloween, the last week of October. So I will see you there, and right here in the comments. Guys, take care. I'm Justin Davis, and I will see you on the next one. I'm off to fly this one again.